Coming up on this episode of Falmouth in Focus, we sit down with retiring Fire Chief Mark Sullivan for a look back on his career. We take a visit to the Marine Life Center in Buzzards Bay to see how cold-stunned Kemp's Ridley sea turtles are doing. We visit Serenity Farm in East Falmouth to learn about a program that helps often forgotten farm animals. And Troy Clarkson finds out what locals are professing as their New Year's resolutions. All this and much more on this edition of Falmouth in Focus.
Hello and welcome to Falmouth in Focus. I'm Liz Lerner, the Membership and Outreach Coordinator for FCTV. It's the end of an era. Falmouth Fire Chief Mark Sullivan is retiring after 32 years in the department. Government Channel 15's Jeff Wyman brings us this interview with the chief.
I've been with the town of Falmouth for about 32 years now in the fire department. In the last 5 serving as fire chief. I had the fortune to work my way up to the ranks. I held every rank in the fire department from, I have been an EMT all along, still am an EMT, emergency medical technician. But I've held the ranks of firefighter, lieutenant, captain, deputy, and chief. I was promoted acting chief in 2010 and then permanent chief in 2011. So I've had, as I said, 32 years with Falmouth, which have been great. And I appreciate it's been an honor and a privilege working as the fire chief, representing the town. I did have a few years, actually I began my firefighting career in 1976 when I joined the United States Air Force, and I served as a firefighter. When I got out of the Air Force, I obtained a job at Otis Air Force Base as a civilian firefighter when it was Otis Air Force Base. And then eventually getting on Falmouth in '83. So I have a total of 40 years in the fire service, and it's been a great, rewarding career. There's been many memories. We've seen things grow. Things have changed quite a bit. When I started on the fire department, actually a firefighter you call it riding the tailboard. And back then, actually, I've never done it in Falmouth, but when I worked at Otis in the Air Force, we would actually ride on the tailboard of the vehicle. So you're hanging on the back of the truck. And we thought it was a great safety measure when we got a strap that would help us hold onto the back of the truck. But things have changed so dramatically over the years for the safety of the firefighters. It's been great. The EMS calls have been numerous. I can remember a call an unfortunate call that I was the incident commander of. It was a motor vehicle accident on Route 151 some years ago where there were 6 fatalities. So the things like that stick out in your mind and remind you. But also you have calls like that. We have a call where there was a viable patient actually that was in a car accident that was stuck about 20 feet off the ground in a tree. And we had to use, we have a lot of resources. We have rescue, the Jaws of Life, which we use a lot, unfortunately, and cutting people out of car accidents. But in that case, we had to get the help of actually a backhoe to secure the car while we got the patient out of the car. Well, I mentioned it last night. We had a budget meeting, and I mentioned it to the Board of Selectmen. I'd like to thank them for their support of the department over the years. The town manager for his support for the department, the fire department, and the emergency management department throughout the years. And more so, I'd like to thank the firefighters in the town of Falmouth for what they do every day for the community. And last but not least, actually thank my family for allowing me to have this great job for so many years. And now maybe I can give some of that time back to them.
To see the interview in its entirety, check out Government Channel 15's program schedule at fctv.org. The Falmouth No Place for Hate Group, a community-based organization whose purpose is to combat bias and promote respect for all people, is hosting the annual Martin Luther King Breakfast at the Coonamessett Inn. FCTV's Tony Sedera brings us this next piece.
We're excited about the upcoming annual Martin Luther King National Holiday Breakfast that's taking place in Falmouth at the Coonamessett Inn on Monday, January 18th at 9 o'clock in the morning. Our keynote speaker is Diane Keon, who is an educator at Nauset High School.
One of the things that we have at this program that I am excited about is the participation of students from Falmouth High School and Morse Pond School. The Falmouth High School ceramic class will be contributing ceramic plates that will be highlighting and celebrating this special day and Martin Luther King's contributions. Also on the Morse Pond, students will be singing. They'll also be reciting the famous "I Have a Dream" speech.
We have chosen this year for the first time to consciously support the National Day of Service by offering opportunities for attendees of the breakfast or others in the community to engage in service. And there are two projects in particular. One involves the organization in Falmouth called Neighborhood Falmouth, which serves to help elderly people remain in their homes. The other opportunity is to provide food for the Falmouth Service Center. And we have two projects in mind. One is creating wonderful fruit salad, and so we're asking attendees at the breakfast, as well as those who might come in the afternoon for service, to bring fresh fruit. We're also asking those who would come to the Falmouth Jewish congregation that afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. to bring bread dough, and that bread will be baked for the service center.
The cutoff has passed for reserving seats ahead of time, but you can email npfhfalmouth@gmail.com to see if there are still seats available. The Genealogical Society meets every second Saturday of the month at the Falmouth Public Library, but December's meeting was a little out of the ordinary.
You may already know that if you need a resource center for nearly anything, the library is the place to go. What you may not know is that if you're interested in your family's lineage and would like to meet up with others that share your passion for knowing where you came from and just how you got there, the library is the place for that too. Once a month, the Genealogy group gets together here in the Herman Room in the basement of the Falmouth Public Library. This is a month that people bring in recipes that represent their ancestry, although to me, it seems like just an excuse to have a big snack fest, but they are definitely having fun.
Oh, Moxie, dear Moxie, it's me for you. I don't know what I would do without you.
Maybe some of that fun is singing a song you wrote as a kid about Moxie soda, or showcasing the gnome doll that's been in your family for ages, or sharing your recipe for Harvey Wallbanger cake. Whatever the case, the group gets together on the second Saturday of every month, and it turns out this isn't just some passing fad.
The Falmouth Genealogical Society has been around now. This was our 30th anniversary year. So it's amazing that this group has been together that long.
This was the last meeting of the calendar year, and it took place just before Christmas, which might explain all the tasty treats that folks brought in. However, this isn't the typical setup for one of their gatherings.
But normally we have speakers that come in and speak about different subjects on the different topics of genealogy.
While the Genealogical Society only meets once a month, anyone that needs a tutorial or some help just getting started can come in once a week.
On Tuesdays, every single Tuesday that the library is open, we have from 2 to 4 a help session where we put in over 270 hours of community service time and helped this year 93 people get in touch with their family backgrounds and histories.
Oftentimes, these meetings can bring the immediate family closer together, as was the case for Judy Wadley, who brought in this pilgrim bread.
My husband and I made it together, and it was a lot of laughs because we didn't know how to knead very well, and I had to go out and buy all the different kinds of flour for it, but it was still a fun process and a learning process.
While there are still a couple of other society meetings during the year that Mary Barry enjoys more than this one in particular, her love for the group as a whole stays at an even keel.
We just are a good group of people that enjoy being with each other, and we just share the same love of family history.
At the Herman Foundation Room in the Falmouth Public Library, I'm Brian Sullivan for Falmouth in Focus.
You can find out more information about the Genealogical Society at their website, falmouthgenealogicalsociety.org. There is always information to be shared from Town Hall. This episode, we bring you highlights from the last 2 Selectmen's meetings. Selections are chosen based on community impact.
On January 5th, Falmouth Fire Rescue Chief Mark Sullivan was thanked by the Selectmen and the community at the annual fiscal budget meeting for his many years of dedicated service to the citizens of Falmouth.
I know you will have retired by the next town meeting, so just in case we can't convince you to get there, I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the town and the Board of Selectmen to express our appreciation and for your many years of service. And I really very much appreciate everything you've done.
His retirement marks the end to a 40-year career in fire prevention, 32 of which were spent working in the town of Falmouth. The Falmouth Economic Development and Industrial Corporation presented their plans for the solar project proposed at the Falmouth landfill.
So first thing is they put, right here, you can see the solar panels on top of the landfill. They're basically go right on the ground, and they sit on concrete pads, so there's no digging in the dirt at all. They sit right on top of it, and all the wires are all connected like that. Eversource is going to give, this is the credit rate that's currently right now for net metering for municipalities. You get 17 cents a kilowatt hour. So this 7 million kilowatts at 17 is worth 1.3 million in net metering credits. Okay, right there.
The project is expected to generate substantial savings for the town, and the Selectmen look to have the EDIC iron out a few more details in an upcoming meeting before voting the project further.
Whereas No Guff Day has been celebrated since 2001 at Falmouth High School when Greg Gilbert and Doug Ribasol, working with students to find a proactive way to handle conflicts, came up with the phrase No Guff. Since Mr. Ribasol's tragic death that same year, No Guff has been celebrated in his remembrance. And whereas, by taking the pledge and making a concerted effort to observe the No Guff mantra, community members work together and support each other in keeping a positive attitude and creating a positive environment.
January 25th through the 29th is No Guff Week. The Selectmen made their proclamation for the Falmouth's annual No Guff Week, urging not only students but the entire community to create a positive atmosphere for all.
This year I've came up with the slogan, A Wave of Kindness. Morris Pond has made a movie the past couple years that has gotten a lot of popularity. So this year it's going to be A Wave of Kindness, and I thought it had a Cape Cod theme. And we're kind of trying to say kindness is like a ripple in a wave.
To see the meetings in their entirety, check out Government Channel 15's program schedule at fctv.org. The first of what many hope will be an annual event happened at the end of December. The Steve Cishek Wiffle Ball Tournament was held to help raise money for Falmouth Youth Baseball. FCTV's Alan Russell brings us this next piece.
Baseball's been very special to me. Obviously, I do it for a livelihood as a profession, and it all started here in this town. Not necessarily in this gym, although we did do workouts here, but it just means a lot just to be able to bring the community together. I didn't want to really make this about, myself and, accomplishments or anything like that. That's the last thing I'm worried about. I wanted to make it about bringing the guys together, men and women, just to, raise money, just to provide extra support for youth baseball and also the high school team for guys going to college. And it's just such a great experience today. I'm just so glad that people came out for this event. Well, I came up with the idea. Originally, I wanted to do a golf tournament since golf is one of my favorite, current hobbies. But, we were able to, I was able to talk to Sam Fold, who plays with Oakland Athletics, and he does a wiffle ball tournament for diabetes. And, I know how big this gym is. I was like, man, we could fit 4 wiffle ball fields in here, I think. And sure enough, it worked out. And so we just decided, Pete Tormey and I decided that we're going to try to put it together, and got Rich McClone involved because he used to do tournaments, and then all of a sudden Chris Fitzgerald jumped in, and Mark Kasperzik, and it just, everything just kind of, worked out itself. It's been great. The idea to do the Wiffle Ball Classic was I wanted people to come in, play their favorite childhood game, in a family-friendly atmosphere, even though it's competitive, but just for them to put in $25 and then see batting cages being put up, kids going to college, knowing that they had a hand in that. That's what means the most to me today, so I'm glad we're able to do it for sure. We're looking to make this an annual event, possibly expand to different age groups. It's just tough being the first year. We didn't know how this was going to go, how many teams we could actually hold. We only had an 8-hour window because basketball has to come into practice, so we really wanted to make sure we did everything the right way the first year. Not that we're not going to do it the right way the next year, but we wanted to build trust. And if the school approves and everyone's on board, the town had a good time while being here, maybe we'll continue to do it, make it a yearly event, see how long it goes.
Congratulations to APT, Athletic Performance Training, for winning the tournament. Before we take a quick break, we wanted to let you know about a few calendar announcements. The Indoor Winter Market at Mahoney's Garden Center begins this weekend, January 16th, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. and will run every Saturday until March 12th. The Falmouth Community School Winter Catalog is out and registration has begun. Online registration can be done at any time, while in-person registration began on January 13th. Classes start on Monday, January 24th. You can visit their website, falmouthcommunityschool.org, for their entire class listing. And on January 24th, there will be a health and fitness fair at FAST, Falmouth Area Sports Training, from 12 to 4 p.m. A variety of local wellness-related vendors will be in attendance. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with 3 animal-related stories: Kemp's Ridley sea turtles, the fostering of forgotten farm animals, and a look at a day in the life of a Falmouth animal control officer.
Miley is a 4-year-old pit bull mix. She adores people and is happiest hanging out with them. However, she does not get along with other dogs. Miley's overweight at the moment, but is lively and likes to play. She has already started to shed some pounds. Miley can be seen at the shelter during its open hours, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon, Sundays from 3 to 5 p.m., also on Mondays and Thursdays from 3 to 5 p.m.
Welcome back. The National Marine Life Center in Buzzards Bay has recently taken in a large group of cold-stunned Kemp's Ridley sea turtles that were stuck in Cape Cod Bay. FCTV's Bob Fenstermaker brings us this next piece.
The National Marine Life Center has a threefold mission. The first and our core mission is marine animal rehabilitation. Right now we have permanent facilities to take care of sea turtles and seals. And the second part of our mission is science, so we use the opportunity of the animals coming through our facility to learn what they're telling us about the ocean. And then the third part of our mission is education. Cape Cod is a real stranding hotspot for a lot of species, and in part that's because of the great habitat we have here, the fact that it's sort of a mixing area for northern and southern species. So we get sea turtle strandings every fall and winter here on Cape Cod. And these are generally juvenile turtles, and they're animals that are only somewhere between 2 to 5 years old is the normal estimate. And what happens, most of the species are Kemp's Ridley turtles, which is the most endangered sea turtle in the world. And there are, at one point, there were fewer than 1,000 nesting females, although that number has since increased, thankfully, in part thanks to efforts like rehabilitation and release. The Kemp's Ridley turtle hatches on one beach in Mexico, Rancho Nuevo. Scientists are starting to establish a nesting beach in Texas as well. But what happens with those little hatchlings is if they survive, they get into the warm ocean currents like the Gulf Stream. And then every year, some amount of them are in the Gulf Stream and they spin off into Cape Cod Bay. When we bring a turtle in, our admission process is like with any other animal. We first do a thorough body check. We take a complete set of measurements. Then we set up a treatment plan. When they first come in, they haven't been eating the food, and their eating pattern and whether or not they eat is often a first indication of whether or not there's something going on. The turtles are still in pretty critical condition, so it means we have to be extra careful and cautious in preparing the food. We make sure that they don't have any large bones or anything while they're still so small and fairly weak, while their systems are still weak. So we remove the beak and the pen from the squid, and we make sure that the fillets have as few bones as possible, ideally none. Then the feed will involve, we have to count how many pieces of each animal eats. 50 fillet. when you have 15 turtles in a tank, it can get pretty busy as far as who's eating what. So one person is the data recorder, one person is the primary feeder, and then we might have a third person who's a spotter on the other side of the pool, and that person may or may not also take handfuls of food over to feed from the other side of the pool if there are turtles that won't come to the feeding station.
You can see how the turtles are progressing through the center's Facebook page. Just search National Marine Life Center. A local woman has dedicated much of her life to the care of animals that might otherwise be euthanized. Ann Jennings explains to us what Serenity Farm is all about.
I've been here for 5 years, became Serenity Farm probably 4 years ago. It's kind of taken off. We started in March fostering for Peace for Animals, and it's now turned into dream come true, fostering, rehoming, rehabbing, involving the community in what we want to do. We have a mama goat, Pearl, and her 2 little babies who are down there nibbling on the camera, Wreck-It Ralph and Jimmy Brown. We have 3 turkeys, an ancient rabbit. I have no idea how many chickens, about 20 ducks, pigeons. We have 3 mules, 2 miniature mules, a pony mule. We have a bunch of horses. I'm not sure how many, maybe a dozen. You can just see her behind this bone here, the tail head. You're not supposed to see that. It's supposed to be flat when you run your hand over it. And she's all hollow here. And she's actually been eating for a month now. She's a sweet horse. She'll be looking for a home. Peace for Animals came out of Peace for Ponies, which is an organization that's been rescuing pregnant miniature horses in Wareham. I saw my veterinarian, Marina Caesar, showed me Bella on Facebook. It was this little tiny mule creature who I absolutely fell in love with and just had to foster because I owned a miniature mule. And so I fostered her, and it ended up turning into being a satellite facility, and we created Peace for Animals. And now I've since decided that Serenity Farm is going to become our own 501c3. So we're going to do our own things, more focused on children and adults, anybody who needs or wants to be near the animals that can benefit from it. I'd like to get in touch with people who know of children who could use a place like this to come, maybe spend some time with the animals. So maybe counselors or teachers or somebody who's really experienced in that would be willing to help us, guide us towards that direction. Because that's really where I want to go. And I don't want to charge for these programs. I want them to be accessible and free. So that's the goal, is rescue some humans and horses at the same time.
You can learn more about Serenity Farm and how you can get involved by visiting their Facebook page. Just search Serenity Farm. Long ago, a town's animal control officer was simply known for catching stray dogs. But as we learned from Al Turner, a Falmouth animal control officer, there's a lot more to the job.
Animal control deals with, we deal with roadkill. We have to pick up any kind of roadkill, neighborly disputes, welfare checks on dogs. People will call and say, hey, I think this dog is being left outside, is being mistreated. Those are all investigated in a certain manner, depending on what, I'll go to the property, see what's going on with the dog, talk to the owner, and depending on how they react to the situation, there'll be either enforcement, or I'll just ask the dog to be seen by a veterinarian. That usually works. What I do is I'll have a veterinarian see the dog, and I'll talk to the veterinarian and say, what do you think? Injured wildlife was huge, specifically birds, and birds that were offshore a lot, ended up making their way in here. Injured, sick, broken wings, stuff like that. Had to be we have to transport those animals down to Cape Wildlife Center in Barnstable to see if they can make a recovery. if the animal's too far gone, if it's an animal that I pick up and it's clear that it's, you know, injured and it's not going to make a recovery, we do provide euthanasia service for wild animals, not domestic. If there's a domestic animal, a dog, cat that's sick or injured and it's really bad, doesn't matter how bad that dog is or how mortally wounded the dog is or hurt, I always have to transport it down to a veterinarian, and they're the ones who make that decision. With a wild animal, we can provide the euthanasia service for that animal. So that's a kind of a tough part of the job. I'd say that's one of the, you know, the harder parts of the job is having to do that. If I'm able to come to work each day and, you know, get to help an animal or make a situation a little easier on somebody, that's a success each day. So it's an enjoyable job. I love the town. And
what are you doing?
It's good.
Thank you to Government Channel 15's Jeff Wyman for that piece. We're going to take another quick break, but we'll be back with Troy Clarkson's Take right after this. Welcome back. Troy Clarkson along with camera operator Donna Buckley bring us this next take, a man on the street look at what locals are proclaiming as their New Year's resolutions.
Thanks, Liz, and a happy new year to all of our friends, both in front of and behind the camera at FCTV, and to all of our viewers out there in Falmouth. We're here downtown today as we celebrate the new year and look forward to renewal and hopes and dreams. We're here to see what Falmouth thinks about the new year. So come along with us as we chat with people here in downtown and see what they think about the new year.
Well, I have a lot of hopes. Probably the most simple one is that I want to eat really good local food and cook more. So I'm starting off with some great country bread, and I'm going to go home and make some potato soup and just try to be really healthy for the new year, get lots of exercise and fresh air, and just enjoy Falmouth. It's such a beautiful town, and have a lot of friends I like to run and ride my bike with. So I'm looking to do a lot more of that.
So 'tis a gift to be simple, they say, and so you're going to enjoy some of Falmouth's simple gifts.
Yes, some of the simple things in life, yes.
So it's a beautiful day to be out here on the playground. What are your hopes, Eliza, for the new year?
I want to get more exercise.
Well, you're starting off right, running around the playground here.
Yeah.
And what about you, Dominic?
I want to stop watching TV and off the computer and get more exercise also.
That sounds fantastic. Now, I see a Patriots sweatshirt there. What do you think about the playoffs here?
I think they might go to playoffs, but if they don't, I think the Broncos might.
Good thoughts. And now, Scott, these guys have some pretty good, thoughtful resolutions here. I'm sure you've had some influence on that.
Yes, I have. I want to get some more exercise myself. I'd love to see them get off the tablets and the phones and the computers and everything, too.
Well, this is a great way to start. This is a beautiful community playground. We're happy you're here visiting it, and Happy New Year to all you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
I'm here with Falmouth's favorite librarian, although I probably shouldn't use superlatives, one of Falmouth's favorite librarians, Peggy Zuplat. So Peggy, tell us about your thoughts, your hopes, your dreams for the new year.
Well, for the new year, I hope everyone stays healthy. I hope we get very little snow this winter. It'll help the snow budget for the DPW. Just that everything goes well, that the town progresses nicely, town meeting goes well for everybody.
All good thoughts.
Yeah, the family is well and healthy, and hopefully we'll get to see more of them.
Well, that really encapsulates it pretty well. So we started off downtown, and we're finishing here in Woods Hole, two jewels of this great community. But you know, the real jewels, as we've seen as we begin this new year, are the people of this great community. And they gave us some great feedback as we were out here, from exercising to eating local to hoping folks in our local democracy can be more respectful when they're vocal. We saw all kinds of shining tiles of the mosaic of humanity as we begin this new year here in Falmouth with hope and anticipation of another great year in this great town. Best wishes to all of you for a wonderful 2016. I'm Falmouth Enterprise columnist Troy Clarkson, and that's my take. Back to you, Liz.
Thanks, Troy, for a look at the resolutions of our neighbors. And speaking of neighbors, we'd like to invite all Falmouth residents and visitors to share their slice of life. Email us your photos or videos or upload them to Facebook or Twitter and use the hashtag MyFalmouth and Falmouth in Focus to be featured on the show. We're going to end the show with sights and sounds from the New Year's Eve procession down Main Street. Thank you to the online magazine, CapeCodWave.com, for this great footage. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.